Hey, Michael Patton here, theologians in cars drinking coffee. Although I don't like to classify myself as a theologian because I'm not really technically a theologian. I just teach theology. Oh well, it's a good name. I am going to talk about a little bit of attitude adjustments. In theology, especially, or in particular. Whenever I was young, and just started following the Lord and decided to really commit myself over to Him and theology and truth and, just trying to discover it, I had a really bad attitude. I see this more and more. I was talking to a guy yesterday about this, and he's kind of young too and maybe going through some of the similar stuff. But whenever you're young and you first start following the Lord, you get your beliefs and you lack a filter. You lack an ability to be able to distinguish your beliefs and the importance of your beliefs from each other. You don't really understand that there are some things that are more important than others, and you're really ready to die on a hill for everything. That's the way I was. I mean, no matter whether it was being a cessationist, not believing in the charismatic gifts or the continuation of them, or being a premillennialist, believing that Christ is going to come before a millennium, there'll be a 1,000-year millennium, or being a young earth creationist. I was all kinds of things whenever I was young, and that, if you talked to me, you would think those were essential aspects of the gospel, because my attitude about things was very black and white. Just because I held to something, then I would automatically think, that this is something worth dying for. And it's, I don't know if it's my fault or anybody's fault whenever they do this. This is just a natural reaction. People do this anytime they're learning anything. People kind of become know-it-alls. Right whenever you get married, you know everything about marriage until, a few years later, and then you don't know anything about it. Right whenever you have kids, you know everything about raising kids, and you want to straighten up everybody about it. Anything, right whenever you start to cook, you know how to cook and you're better than anybody else. I mean, on and on we could go. So I'm not trying to beat up on theology as if it's the lone wolf here in the pack that is causing all the trouble. It's just human nature. This is the way we do things. But I would have, all of these views that I would fight for, I would die for, I would harp on with you if you did not agree with me, and I would have a bad attitude about you as well, because I would think you're not worthy to hang around. You're not a very good Christian. You're not studied as well as I am. You're not as smart as I am. I mean, on and on I would think unconsciously these things. And it comes years later, after you've gone through a whole lot of stuff, whether it be troubles in your life, difficulties with God, other views that get introduced that cause you to kind of question your own beliefs on the issues. You begin to kind of sort some. Hopefully you do. Unfortunately, some people never really go through this and stay with a bad attitude their entire lives. And so once you begin to encounter other people, I remember with the charismatic thing, I was really hardcore non-charismatic, and if you spoke in tongues, I thought you were demon-possessed. I really did. I thought that was probably the only explanation, is that a demon was inside you. And I remember going to a school for my undergraduate degree. It was my final year of school, and I didn't know this at the time, but it was a charismatic school. It was a little Bible college. I wanted to get some more education before I went to seminary. But the teacher had me sit down next to a guy that was the most charismatic guy in the class. And he was kind of this little scrawny old guy that sat next to me, and he was really, really nice. But I mean, I thought, this guy's probably speaking in tongues. He probably just got done speaking in tongues before he came to class, and I just had a bad attitude. Throughout the semester, God taught me something that really made me question my attitude, because this guy, I began to discover, that he seems like he loves Christ. It seems like he loves the same Christ I do. It seems like he follows Christ, and Christ is very dear to him, and he understands his sin and everything else. I'm like, how can this be? And eventually I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, this guy's kinder than I am. This guy is a better Christian in every single way than I am. How in the world do I square this with him speaking in tongues whenever that is evil and he has to have Satan inside of him? Eventually I came to the point that you could be a really, really good Christian and not agree with me on things. And I had to begin to sort through what those things were that you could disagree with me about and still remain Christian and even a good Christian. And eventually, my little circle in the middle of things that were completely essential, the things that are worth dying for, just got smaller and smaller and smaller. Until eventually, the one thing I haven't really done is change my views since before seminary. I can't think of anything that I've gone, a 180 on, and I hold something different. I kind of wish I had, because it's a testimony to your own wrestling with the issues, but I've stayed pretty much the same as I was. I have not changed my beliefs, but I have changed my attitude. And I think that's very important to be able to get to that point where you're comfortable with that and you recognize the necessity of this. Otherwise, you're just going to be a raunchy old theologian. You're just going to be a raunchy old person who everything is black and white and who lacks the ability to have fellowship with just about anybody, because nobody really agrees with you on everything, and everything is of equal importance. So learn to change your attitude, even if you don't change your beliefs.